Our modern world was built upon a hidden lattice of ancient pathways. These trade routes formed the skeleton of human civilization, a network that did far more than transport silk and spices. They carried revolutionary ideas, groundbreaking technologies, and profound beliefs across continents, weaving together the very fabric of our global society. By the end of our journey, you will understand how these exchanges built the world we live in today, shaping everything from the food we eat to the languages we speak. How did a single road help spread a major world religion across Asia? What allowed a simple resin to connect the frozen Baltic to the sun-baked Mediterranean? The story of these routes is the story of us. What invisible connections in your own life might trace back to these ancient roads? That instinct to trade is written deep in our human story. Before empires, before currency, even before writing, people were exchanging. In the quiet of a Neolithic village, a farmer with extra grain might walk a well-worn footpath to a neighboring settlement, hoping to find a potter with a sturdy new vessel. No money changed hands, just goods for goods, a direct and personal agreement. This was the purest form of commerce, a simple barter built on immediate need and budding trust. These local paths were the first capillaries of a system that would one day pulse with global life. They carried more than just tools and food, they carried relationships. With every successful exchange, a bond of mutual dependence was forged. A community that traded its surplus obsidian for another's finely crafted ornaments learned it did not need to be entirely self-sufficient. It could rely on others, and others could rely on it. This was a revolutionary shift in human organization. The footpaths between villages slowly, almost imperceptibly, began to widen. They were trodden by more feet, cleared of more obstructions, becoming the earliest roads. Each new connection, each successful trade, reinforced the value of this network. The local pathway began to strain at its edges, its logic of connection demanding a wider stage. The horizon was calling, and the first tentative steps toward a connected world were already being taken. The logic of local footpaths now faced a grander challenge. Across the vast, sun-scorched deserts of the Arabian Peninsula, a new kind of road was born, one driven not by simple barter, but by an almost magical substance. This was the Incense Trail. Its treasures were not gold or jewels, but fragrant resins harvested from scraggly trees in southern Arabia. Frankincense and myrrh, when burned, produced a smoke believed to carry prayers to the heavens, and their scent became essential for religious ceremonies and for honoring the departed in cultures from Egypt to Rome. So profound was their allure that these aromatic nuggets were, quite literally, worth their weight in gold. But how do you transport such precious cargo across hundreds of miles of the world's most unforgiving terrain? The answer was the camel, the ship of the desert. These patient, resilient animals, organized into great caravans, made the impossible journey possible. They trudged through dunes and over rocky plateaus, their loads of resin swaying with each step. Their routes were not random, they were precise, life-giving threads tied to oases. At these verdant waypoints, entire towns sprang up, not as isolated settlements, but as vital trading hubs. Here, caravan masters could rest, resupply, and most importantly, trade. These oasis towns became the first cosmopolitan centers of the region, places where Arab merchants, Egyptian officials, and Roman traders would meet. They exchanged more than goods, they shared stories, technologies, and ideas. A new tool from one civilization might find its way to another. A style of pottery might be adopted and adapted. A rumor of a distant kingdom would be whispered and passed along. The Incense Trail proved something revolutionary. It showed that a single, specific commodity, if desired enough, could forge and sustain a permanent long-distance network. This was no longer just a path between villages. It was a transcontinental artery, pumping economic lifeblood and cultural influence across the known world. The success of this aromatic road was a powerful hint, a preview of a much larger, more complex system waiting to be born. If the scent of a tree could bind continents together, what else was possible? Yet the desert caravans were just one part of a much grander system. Picture a roadside inn, a caravanserai, buzzing with a cacophony of languages under a vast, starry sky. Here, a Roman merchant gestures over a bolt of shimmering Chinese silk, while a Persian trader displays delicate glassware. A scholar from India shares scrolls, and a monk from China speaks of a new spiritual path. This was the true heart of the Silk Road, a network of land and sea routes that connected the world for centuries. While its name honors the most famous fabric, this was a conduit for far more than luxurious cloth. Spices from the east traveled west to flavor the food of Europe, while glassware from the Mediterranean moved east, a marvel of transparent technology. But the most transformative cargo was intangible. The secret of papermaking journeyed from China, revolutionizing record-keeping and spreading literacy. The formula for gunpowder followed these paths, ultimately changing the nature of conflict and construction. Along these same routes, the profound teachings of Buddhism flowed eastward out of India, taking root in new lands and forever altering the spiritual landscape of Asia. This was not merely a track for moving merchandise. It was a living artery for the very substance of civilization, pumping ideas, beliefs, and innovations across continents. The legacy of this exchange is a powerful reminder that when goods move, ideas travel with them, weaving the separate threads of human experience into a single, intricate tapestry. But the Silk Road was only half the story. While caravans snaked across continents, another network was taking shape upon the open sea. Ancient mariners learned to read the sky and the waves, discovering the rhythmic breath of the monsoon winds. These powerful, seasonal gusts became a natural engine for commerce, blowing ships from Africa and Arabia toward India in the summer and pushing them back home in the winter. Their cargo was worth more than gold by weight, a treasure trove of flavor and preservation. Black pepper from India's Malabar coast, fragrant cinnamon from Ceylon, and precious cloves from the far-off Moluccas, islands so remote they were known as the Spice Islands. These were not mere luxuries. In an age before refrigeration, spices were essential for preserving food and masking the taste of decay. The demand was insatiable, creating fortunes for those who dared the voyage. Great port cities blossomed at the crossroads of these oceanic highways. In harbors like Calicut in India and Malacca in Malaysia, the docks were a symphony of chaos and creation. The creak of wooden hulls and the shouts of dockworkers melded with a dozen different languages. Arab dhows with their Latin sails bobbed beside massive Chinese junks. Here, in crowded bazaars, a merchant from Cairo could barter with a trader from Java, while a shipwright from Gujarat shared a new design for a sturdier rudder. These ports were melting pots where religions intermingled and culinary traditions fused, creating new cuisines that still delight us today. The relentless pursuit of spice drove incredible innovation. Navigators mapped the stars with greater precision. Shipbuilders designed vessels capable of surviving year-long journeys, and captains plotted courses that had once been the stuff of legend. This vibrant lattice of sea lanes proved the ocean was not a barrier but a bridge, uniting the economies and cultures of entire continents. The immense wealth generated by a single bag of peppercorns would soon echo across the globe, igniting a hunger that would push European explorers far beyond the edges of their maps into a vast and terrifying unknown. While the spice routes thrived on the ocean, another monumental trade network was being carved across the world's greatest desert. The Sahara was not an empty void but a sea of sand, its dunes like frozen waves crossed by expert Berber merchants. They navigated by the stars, leading colossal camel caravans that could include 1,000 animals or more. These caravans were the only link between two different worlds. From the forested empires of West Africa came gold, a seemingly endless supply that would fuel economies far to the north. And from the salt pans of the desert itself came the other side of this essential trade, great slabs of a mineral as precious as the gold it was exchanged for. In a hot climate without refrigeration, salt was not a luxury, it was life itself, vital for preserving food and sustaining health. This was a trade of stark contrasts, gold for salt, but it was perfectly symbiotic. The kingdoms of Ghana and Mali possessed immense gold but craved salt, while the Mediterranean world had salt and desperately desired gold. The caravans made this mutual need possible, transforming the Sahara from a barrier into a bridge. Where these caravans stopped, cities rose from the sand. Timbuktu began as a simple seasonal camp and grew into a legendary center of commerce and intellect. At the crossroads of the desert, it became a city of scholars, its libraries and universities attracting thinkers from across Africa and the Middle East. Here, Islamic scholarship flourished, and priceless manuscripts on law, science, and history were penned, creating a beacon of learning in the heart of the continent. This flow of goods and ideas integrated West Africa firmly into the global economy, proving that no geographic obstacle is too great when human ingenuity and need converge. The silent, patient caravans crossing the endless dunes were a powerful testament to a simple truth, that the most forbidding landscapes can host the most vital arteries of human connection. Far to the north, where the cold Baltic Sea washes against ancient pine forests, another kind of treasure was being gathered. This was the source of amber, a golden, translucent resin that had fallen from trees millions of years earlier. To the civilizations of the Mediterranean, this material seemed to hold sunlight itself, captured in stone. They believed it had mystical properties, capable of healing illnesses and warding off evil spirits. This powerful allure set in motion a chain of exchange that would become known as the Amber Road. A network of river routes and overland trails began to form, channeling this precious substance southward. The journey was long and perilous. Raw amber nuggets gathered from the shores of the Baltic would pass through countless hands. Traders would move the cargo along forest paths and down wide rivers like the Vistula and the Elbe, navigating through the territories of various cultures. With every exchange, the value of the amber increased, its worth growing with the distance it traveled. The demand in Rome was insatiable, where the elite prized it for intricate jewelry, decorative inlays, and even for burning as a costly incense. The reach of this northern commodity was staggering. How did a piece of Baltic amber end up in the tomb of an Egyptian pharaoh, placed there as a valuable offering long before the rise of Rome? Its presence there is silent, solid proof of a trade network so vast and interconnected that it linked the frigid north with the sun-baked Nile, a testament to the incredible distances ancient trade could cover. But the Amber Road was never just about one commodity. The same routes that carried the golden resin south also became conduits for other goods. Heavy furs from northern forests, valuable metals like tin and bronze from Central European mines, and honey and wax from local hives all flowed toward the Mediterranean. In return, fine pottery, wine, and ornate metalwork from the Roman world traveled north, bringing a piece of Mediterranean culture to the edges of the continent. This exchange was a powerful integrating force, pulling the disparate tribes of northern Europe into the economic and cultural sphere of the classical world. The path of a single piece of amber from a lonely shore to a Roman patrician's necklace illustrates a profound truth. A local natural resource, when desired by a distant culture, can become the catalyst for an entire system of exchange, binding together landscapes and peoples who would otherwise remain worlds apart. While northern traders navigated forest paths, a different kind of road was being engineered to the south, one built not for commerce but for command. The Royal Road of the Persian Empire was an administrative marvel, a paved highway stretching over 1,500 miles from the royal city of Susa to the distant satrapy of Sardis. Commissioned by King Darius I, this was the ancient world's express lane, a spine of stone and packed earth designed to bind a vast and diverse empire together. Its primary cargo was not silk or spices but authority. A system of relay stations was placed at precise intervals, each stocked with fresh horses and trusted riders. A royal messenger could complete the entire monumental journey in just 7 days, a feat that would have taken an ordinary traveler 3 months. This was about speed and control. An edict from the king could race to the farthest province, and news of a rebellion could rush back to the capital, allowing for a swift and decisive response. The empire could breathe with one set of lungs and think with one mind because of this road. While its official purpose was military and administrative, the very existence of such a safe, well-maintained route naturally facilitated the movement of everyone else. Caravans of merchants, groups of pilgrims, and traveling scholars all benefited from the security and infrastructure the royal road provided. Goods and ideas flowed in the wake of imperial decrees, proving that even a system built for control could accidentally become a conduit for cultural exchange. The Persian innovation was a powerful precedent. It demonstrated that a road was more than just a path. It was a tool of unification, a physical manifestation of an empire's will to connect its parts into a cohesive whole. This lesson in infrastructure would not be forgotten, and the ghost of the royal road would later march alongside the legions of Rome. The ghost of the royal road found a new home in the cold ports of northern Europe. Here, a different kind of power was rising, one built not by imperial decree but by commercial contract. The Hanseatic League was a revolutionary idea, a confederation of merchant guilds and market towns that bound themselves together for mutual profit and protection. From the 13th to the 17th centuries, this alliance held a commercial monopoly over the Baltic and North Seas, its influence stretching from London in the west to Novgorod in the east. Walk the cobbled streets of Lübeck, its red brick warehouses standing firm against the sea air, or through the bustling canals of Bruges, and you walked through the heart of a mercantile empire. The League's lifeblood was the bulk trade of northern Europe's raw materials. Great ships carried towering timbers for construction, heavy furs for warmth, beeswax for candles that lit 1 million homes, and vast quantities of salted fish, a staple food that sustained populations through long winters. To manage this sprawling enterprise, the League established fortified trading posts known as contours in key foreign cities. These were more than just offices. They were self-governing enclaves where Hanseatic law prevailed, ensuring that business was conducted according to their strict rules and to their overwhelming advantage. Their power was so immense it shaped politics and urban landscapes. The distinct stepped gables and sturdy architecture of Hanseatic towns created a visual identity that still defines these cities today. This was not an empire of conquest, but an empire of account books and trade ledgers. It proved that cooperative alliances could wield economic power rivaling that of kings. The Hanseatic model, a precursor to modern trade blocs, shows us that the most enduring networks are often those built on shared commercial interest, a lesson that continues to resonate in our globally connected world. A coastal breeze carries the scent of salt and history along a sun-bleached strip of land. This was the Via Maris, the way of the sea, an ancient trunk road that served as Egypt's vital artery to the wider world. More than a simple merchant's path, this was the primary highway connecting the rich Nile delta to the bustling ports and fertile valleys of the Levant, a ribbon of packed earth and ambition tracing the Mediterranean shore. It was a route walked by armies with their chariots, by diplomats carrying clay tablets, and by merchants whose camels bore the wealth of empires. From the granaries of Egypt flowed vast quantities of papyrus and gold, while from the cedar-covered mountains of Lebanon came immense logs, a building material so prized it was reserved for pharaohs' palaces and temples. Olive oil from Canaanite presses and fragrant resins for sacred rituals traveled south, each caravan strengthening the economic bonds between powerful kingdoms. But this very value made the Via Maris a constant prize. Control of this corridor meant control over the flow of wealth and military movement between continents. For centuries, it became a geopolitical fault line, its possession fiercely contested by the Egyptians, the Hittites, and later the Assyrians. A treaty signed after a great battle might see the road change hands, its checkpoints manned by new soldiers speaking a different tongue. This duality is what made the Via Maris so fundamental. It was both a lifeline of cultural exchange and a strategic military asset, a channel for both olive oil and invasion forces. The very road that carried new ideas and luxury goods could, in a season, carry the rumble of war chariots. How many other routes of connection have also been paths of conflict, their peaceful purpose forever shadowed by their immense strategic value? High in the thin air of the Himalayas, where narrow paths cling to cliff faces, another route defied the very logic of geography. The Tea-Horse Road was a network of trails so treacherous they challenged the limits of human and animal endurance, connecting the tea gardens of southern China to the high plateau of Tibet. For centuries, this was a trade built on a simple, powerful bargain. The highlands of Tibet, with their harsh climate, could not grow tea, yet its people had come to rely on the brew for its vital nutrients and warmth. Meanwhile, the Chinese empires to the east, facing constant threats from northern steppe nomads, had an insatiable need for the strong, sturdy warhorses bred on the Tibetan plateau. So a system was born, one where compressed bricks of dark tea traveled west and tough, resilient ponies traveled east. This was not a journey for the faint of heart. Caravans led by hardy merchants and their sure-footed mules navigated swinging rope bridges over roaring gorges and trudged through high mountain passes where the oxygen was thin. A single misstep could mean a loss of life and cargo. The men who guided these caravans developed a unique culture of their own, their chants and songs echoing through the valleys, a soundtrack to one of history's most daring commercial ventures. But these paths carried more than just leaves and livestock. The steady flow of people along the Tea-Horse Road created a conduit for deep cultural exchange. Tibetan Buddhism traveled eastward along these trails, finding new adherents and leading to the construction of monasteries in once isolated mountain valleys. Artistic styles blended and languages borrowed from one another, creating a rich tapestry of shared traditions in the regions the road touched. This high-altitude network stands as a powerful testament to how complementary needs can forge bonds that overcome even the most formidable natural barriers. It reminds us that commerce is not always about luxury, but often about essential survival, and that the most vital connections are sometimes woven through the world's most breathtaking and dangerous landscapes. A straight, stone-paved road cuts across the countryside of Britain, its surface still firm after 2,000 years. This is the legacy of Roman engineering, a network so masterfully built that it did more than connect places. It forged a single, unified world from countless different cultures. From the misty highlands of Scotland to the sun-baked plains of Mesopotamia, these roads were the rigid backbone of an empire. They were not mere dirt paths, but complex structures of layered stone and mortar, designed to drain water and withstand the relentless march of legions and the heavy wheels of supply carts. Their primary purpose was control, to move soldiers swiftly to quell unrest and to shuttle officials who carried the emperor's law to every corner of the realm. Yet this system of control inadvertently became the greatest tool for connection the ancient Western world had ever seen. A merchant in Gaul could now reliably send his goods to markets in Italy, his journey measured by identical stone milestones that counted down the distance to Rome itself. Way stations provided safe rest and fresh horses, standardizing travel and making it accessible. This safety and predictability meant that more than just soldiers and tax collectors walked these roads. Ideas once trapped by geography now traveled at the speed of a horse. The Latin language flowed out from the capital, slowly blending with local tongues to form the Romance languages we know today. The precise concepts of Roman law took root in distant provinces, offering a common legal framework. And later, the profound message of Christianity found these paved pathways ideal for its journey across the continent, moving from a small sect in the eastern Mediterranean to a defining force in European civilization. The true genius of the Roman network was its durability. While empires rose and fell, the roads remained, serving as the foundation for medieval trade routes and, in some cases, modern highways. They stand as a permanent lesson in how strategic investment in infrastructure can create not just economic prosperity, but a shared cultural identity that endures long after the builders are gone. Far from the stone-paved roads of Rome, another kind of highway carried the lifeblood of a continent. The Mississippi River and its countless tributaries formed a liquid lattice that connected North America from the Rocky Mountains to the Appalachian forests. For centuries before European ships ever appeared on the horizon, these waterways pulsed with the traffic of dugout canoes, each one laden with unique treasures. From the icy shores of Lake Superior came nuggets of pure copper, a metal hammered into ceremonial objects and powerful symbols. From the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico arrived brilliant, iridescent shells, transformed into sacred gorgets and intricate beadwork. And from the distant volcanic peaks of the west traveled obsidian, a black glass crafted into razor-sharp blades that were prized for their precision and beauty. This was not a simple barter of necessities, but a complex exchange of materials that held deep spiritual meaning. A conch shell trumpet, carried 1,000 miles north, was not merely a decorative item. It was a voice of authority, a ritual object that connected a leader to the cosmic order. This flow of spiritually charged goods helped weave a shared cultural fabric across immense distances, fostering alliances and mutual understanding among diverse peoples. The most spectacular evidence of this network's power was the great city of Cahokia. Situated near the confluence of the Mississippi, Missouri, and Illinois rivers, Cahokia became a bustling metropolis, a thriving hub of commerce and ceremony that, at its peak, was larger than many contemporary European cities. Its central plazas and monumental earthen mounds were built not by a centralized empire, but by the collective effort of a society energized by trade and a shared belief system. The goods flowing along the river system fueled its growth and cemented its influence, making it the undeniable center of the Mississippian world. This indigenous commerce demonstrates a profound truth that sophisticated, continent-spanning trade networks arose entirely independently across the globe. The Mississippi River system was an American Silk Road, a testament to the universal human drive to connect, to exchange, and to build complex societies upon the flow of ideas and sacred objects. When European fur traders finally arrived, they did not invent a new system. They simply plugged into these ancient, well-established routes, their canoes following paths that had been sacred for generations. The waterways of North America flowed with spiritual purpose, but in the east, an empire carved a river of pure administration. The Grand Canal of China was not a product of nature, but a calculated masterpiece of human will. Stretching over 1,100 miles, it became the world's longest artificial waterway, a liquid spine engineered to bind the Chinese realm together. Its purpose was a matter of survival for the state. The fertile rice paddies of the Yangtze River basin in the south produced a tremendous surplus of grain, while the political power and massive armies were stationed in the drier north around the capital. The canal was the solution to this geographic dilemma, a man-made river designed to move the sustenance of the south to feed the heart of the empire in the north. For centuries, a seemingly endless procession of barges, known as the tribute grain fleet, made this journey northward, their holds packed with tax rice. This steady flow of calories was what stabilized great dynasties like the Sui and the Tang, preventing famine in the capital and mutiny in the barracks. But the canal carried more than just food. It was a conduit for control. Imperial couriers could travel its length faster than any land messenger, carrying edicts and gathering intelligence, ensuring the emperor's will was felt in distant provinces. This constant, predictable movement of people and authority slowly sanded down regional differences, fostering a shared identity and a standardized administrative culture across incredibly diverse landscapes. The canal did not just connect two rivers, it connected two halves of a civilization, transforming them into a single, cohesive whole. It remained a critical economic artery for over 1,000 years, a testament to the profound strategic power of an inland waterway. Its enduring legacy asks us a quiet question: how much of a nation's unity is not written in law, but carved into the very earth itself, a silent, flowing testament to the drive for order and connection. The same ambition that drove their dragon-proud ships onto foreign shores also guided them along the great river highways of the East. The Vikings were far more than the raiders of legend. They were master navigators of both water and commerce, establishing trade routes that stretched from the foggy fjords of Scandinavia to the glittering capital of the Byzantine Empire. Their legendary longships, with their shallow drafts and sturdy construction, were the key to this incredible mobility. These vessels could brave the open ocean, then turn inland to glide up the vast river systems of Eastern Europe, becoming the 18-wheelers of the medieval world. Along the Volga and the Dnieper, they transported the raw wealth of the north. Heavy bundles of fox and sable furs, gleaming chunks of Baltic amber, and honey from forest hives were loaded into their holds. This cargo was destined for the sophisticated markets of the south, where it would be exchanged for treasures the Norse craved: Islamic silver coins, shimmering Chinese silks, and pungent spices from lands they only knew as distant rumors. This exchange was not merely transactional, it was transformative. The immense flow of Islamic silver back into Scandinavia, buried in hoards that we still uncover today, fundamentally reshaped the northern economy, creating new centers of wealth and power. At the strategic junctions of these river routes, Viking settlements evolved into powerful cosmopolitan hubs. Dublin became a center for Atlantic trade, while Kiev grew into the capital of a powerful Slavic state, its very foundation intertwined with Viking trade and diplomacy. These towns were not isolated outposts. They were bustling nodes where Norse merchants, Byzantine officials, and Islamic traders met and negotiated. Here, goods and ideas flowed as freely as the rivers themselves, connecting the pagan world of the Baltic with the Christian grandeur of Constantinople and the scholarly sophistication of the Islamic caliphates. The Viking trade network stands as a powerful testament to their adaptability, proving that the same skills that made them formidable raiders also made them brilliant economic integrators, weaving Northern Europe into a global tapestry of exchange that stretched further than anyone had previously dreamed. The gentle predictability of the monsoon winds created a rhythm for an entire ocean of commerce. For centuries, the Indian Ocean was not a barrier but a highway, its sailing seasons dictated by the steady, reversing breath of these powerful seasonal gusts. From the spice gardens of Southeast Asia to the ivory ports of East Africa, merchants set their sails to this ancient clock, trusting the wind to carry them to distant markets and back home again. Their vessels were the graceful dhows, wooden ships with distinctive triangular sails, built to harness the monsoon's power. This was a maritime world built on environmental wisdom, where knowledge of the stars and the seasons was the most valuable cargo of all. What set this network apart was its remarkable spirit of cooperation. In the bustling ports of Zanzibar or Cambay, the docks were a symphony of diversity. A Muslim trader from Oman might negotiate with a Hindu merchant from Gujarat, while a shipmaster from China oversaw the loading of silks next to a Swahili merchant offering shimmering ivory and fragrant hardwoods. They spoke a common language of commerce, a shared understanding of weights, measures, and contracts that transcended their different faiths and ethnicities. This was not a system dominated by empires or armies, but by merchants and monsoon winds. It fostered a unique commercial culture where trust and mutual interest were the true currencies. Legal frameworks evolved in these port cities to handle disputes and standardize transactions, creating an early form of international trade law that allowed business to flow as smoothly as the tides. This peaceful, multicultural network thrived for centuries on a foundation of cultural tolerance and practical necessity, a powerful early example of how shared economic goals can build bridges across profound differences. It reminds us that long before the term globalization was ever spoken, the world was already deeply connected by the quiet, relentless logic of the trade winds and the mutual respect of those who sailed them. A deep, rich purple stained the hands of the artisans and colored the very identity of a people. This was the legendary Tyrian purple, a dye so potent and rare it became the exclusive symbol of royalty from Rome to Egypt. Its source was as unlikely as its color was vibrant, a secretion painstakingly extracted from the murex snail, a sea creature harvested along the Levantine coast. Tens of thousands of these shellfish were needed to produce a single gram of the precious pigment, a laborious process that made the cloth more valuable than silver. This single, magnificent color launched 1,000 ships. The Phoenicians, master sailors from cities like Tyre and Sidon, built their entire commercial empire upon this and other unique goods. Their sturdy, nimble vessels, powered by both sail and oar, became the definitive carriers of the Bronze and Iron Age Mediterranean. They sailed where others feared to venture, pushing beyond the Pillars of Hercules into the stormy Atlantic to establish distant colonies like Cadiz in Spain. They were not just merchants, they were pioneers, planting new settlements such as Carthage, which would itself grow into a formidable power. Their ships were floating warehouses, their holds filled not only with rolls of purple cloth, but also with brilliant transparent glass, fragrant cedarwood from their homeland forests, and finely worked metals. They moved through a world of isolated coastal communities, acting as the essential link between the great empires of the Near East and the raw, untapped resources of the Western Mediterranean. Yet their most profound and lasting export was not a material good at all. It was a technology of the mind, a system of symbols that would change human communication forever. The Phoenician alphabet was a revolutionary simplification of earlier, cumbersome writing systems. It represented a set of distinct consonant sounds with just 24 characters, a system so efficient and learnable it could be mastered by merchants and artisans, not just a priestly class. As Phoenician traders set up shop in foreign ports, their practical script traveled with them. It was in places like Greek trading posts that this alphabet was encountered, adapted, and transformed. The Greeks, recognizing its power, added symbols for vowel sounds, creating a truly versatile writing system. This Greek alphabet would, in turn, be passed on, adopted by the Etruscans and then the Romans, evolving into the Latin script that you are reading right now. The very letters forming these words began as a merchant's tool on the docks of Sidon. The Phoenician legacy is a stunning demonstration that commerce is a river for cultural currents far deeper than the goods being traded. They connected the world not just through the purple in a king's robe, but through the very letters that would one day record his history. The gentle logic of the monsoon winds required a shore, a place where the ocean's wealth could meet the continent's depth. This was the Swahili coast, a string of stone cities glittering like pearls along the East African shoreline. Here, African Bantu culture did not simply meet Arab, Persian, and Indian traders. It merged with them, creating a civilization that was entirely unique. Great city-states like Kilwa and Mogadishu rose to power, their economies built on a profound exchange. From the vast African interior came river of gold, gleaming tusks of ivory, and other valuable goods carried by inland traders to the coast. In return, ships from across the Indian Ocean brought fine Chinese ceramics, colorful Indian textiles, and aromatic spices. These bustling ports were not just markets, they were melting pots where cultures fused into something new. This fusion was captured perfectly in language. Swahili, at its heart a Bantu tongue, absorbed thousands of words from Arabic, creating a rich and flexible lingua franca that allowed a merchant from Gujarat to negotiate with a miner from Zimbabwe. Walk through the ruins of Kilwa's Great Mosque or the Palace of Husuni Kubwa, and you see this hybrid identity etched in stone. Coral block buildings featured elegant, curving arches inspired by Islamic design, yet they were constructed by local artisans, creating an architectural style that was distinctly Swahili. These cities became celebrated centers of Islamic scholarship and law, attracting learned men from across the ocean, yet their daily life and deep cultural roots remained firmly African. The Swahili coast stands as a powerful testament to a different kind of power, one built not on conquest but on cultural synthesis. It proves that the most enduring legacies of trade are often not the goods that were moved, but the new worlds that were built where the caravans met the sea. A new kind of ocean current began to flow across the Atlantic, one that carried not just goods but life itself. The Columbian Exchange was the greatest biological transfer in human history, a seismic swap of plants, animals, and people that permanently rewired the planet's ecology. When European ships bridged the hemispheres, they unleashed a cascade of unintended consequences. The Americas offered the world nutritional powerhouses it had never known. The humble potato, cultivated in the Andes for millennia, found a new home in the rocky soils of Ireland and Eastern Europe, its incredible caloric yield supporting population booms where other crops failed. Maize or corn spread with similar speed, becoming a staple from the fields of Italy to the river valleys of China. Meanwhile, tomatoes transformed the cuisine of the Mediterranean, giving us the Italian sauces and Spanish gazpachos we cherish today. In return, the Old World sent its own biological ambassadors. Horses, which had gone extinct in the Americas thousands of years earlier, returned in massive numbers, revolutionizing the mobility and culture of plains tribes. Cattle and pigs multiplied across the new landscapes, altering the very ground they trod. But this exchange had a tragic, invisible passenger. Isolated for so long from the common illnesses of Europe, Africa, and Asia, the indigenous peoples of the Americas had no immunity to diseases like smallpox and measles. The results were catastrophic, leading to a profound loss of life and cultural knowledge on a scale that is difficult to comprehend. This biological network, born from new maritime routes, demonstrates trade's most profound ecological impact. It was not merely an exchange of spices for silver, but a permanent mingling of two worlds that had grown apart. The food on your plate today is a living legacy of this exchange, a quiet reminder that the most transformative cargo is often not the treasure in a ship's hold, but the seeds in a sailor's pocket and the unintended changes they carry. For 2.5 centuries, a solitary fleet of Spanish ships undertook the most perilous maritime journey on Earth. These were the Manila Galleons, colossal vessels that braved the vast, empty expanse of the Pacific Ocean. Their annual voyage forged the first permanent commercial bridge between the Americas and Asia, a trans-Pacific route that would bind two worlds together for the very first time. The journey from Acapulco in Mexico to Manila in the Philippines was a brutal test of endurance, a months-long crossing where sailors faced starvation, scurvy, and the terrifying fury of Pacific storms. Yet the reward for this immense risk was a cargo of almost mythical value. The galleons sailed west laden with silver, vast quantities of the white metal mined from the mountains of Peru and the veins of Mexico. This American treasure was the key that unlocked the markets of Asia. In the bustling port of Manila, this silver was exchanged for the luxury goods of the East, primarily exquisite Chinese silks, delicate porcelain, and coveted spices. This direct trade created a global economic circuit. Spanish silver flowed into China, where it helped fuel the Ming dynasty's economy and became the basis of its monetary system. In return, Asian luxury goods flowed east across the Pacific to the Americas, and then onward across the Atlantic to eager European consumers. This was more than a simple exchange of goods. It was the birth of a truly globalized market, with the mighty galleon at its heart. But the ships carried more than treasure. Hidden within their holds were biological stowaways that would reshape landscapes. Maize from the Americas found its way to the Philippines, becoming a new staple crop. The mango, a fruit native to South Asia, was introduced to the New World for the first time. This maritime bridge, born from colonial ambition, integrated the immense Pacific Ocean into the web of world commerce. It demonstrated that even the greatest of oceans could be conquered by the relentless human drive for connection, forever altering the diets, economies, and destinies of nations on both its shores. A new kind of vessel now sliced through the waves, its towering masts holding a cloud of canvas that strained against the wind. These were the clipper ships, the greyhounds of the sea, and they were built for a single purpose: speed. In the frantic race to bring the first tea harvest of the season from China to the waiting markets of London and New York, every day counted. A cargo that arrived just weeks earlier could command a spectacular price premium, turning a good voyage into a legendary fortune. The sleek, narrow hull of a clipper was a masterpiece of maritime design, sacrificing cargo space for velocity, allowing it to run ahead of the wind in a way that heavier, broader ships simply could not. They turned the vast expanse of the ocean into a competitive sporting field, with captains and crews pushing their ships and themselves to the absolute limit. The names of these vessels, like Cutty Sark and Flying Cloud, became synonymous with a new era of urgency, where the value of a commodity was measured not just in weight, but in the freshness of its arrival. This relentless drive for speed, however, unfolded against a complex and difficult backdrop. The clipper ship era coincided with a period of conflict between China and Western powers, a time when access to Chinese ports and goods was being reshaped by force. These events opened the floodgates for trade on an unprecedented scale, transforming tea from an expensive luxury into a mass-market staple for the growing middle classes of Europe and America. The clipper ship was more than a boat. It was a symbol of the industrial age's obsession with efficiency and the shrinking of time and distance. Their legacy marks a pivotal moment in our story, the shift from the steady, patient caravans of old to a world where the global network began to pulse with a frantic, modern rhythm. The frantic rhythm of the clipper ship was soon outpaced by a more profound change, one carved not from wood and canvas, but from earth and concrete. The Suez Canal was a stroke of genius that redrew the world map for merchant fleets. For centuries, a ship traveling from Europe to Asia faced an epic detour around Africa's Cape of Good Hope, a journey adding thousands of miles and months of travel time. The canal changed everything, slicing directly through the Suez Isthmus to connect the Mediterranean Sea with the Indian Ocean. Suddenly, the route from London to Bombay was almost halved. This was not merely a convenience, it was a revolution. The cost of shipping plummeted, making goods from tea to textiles more affordable and accessible than ever before. Global commerce surged, and the balance of economic power shifted almost overnight. favoring nations with easy access to this new aquatic highway. Ports along the new route flourished, while those dependent on the old Cape Passage saw their influence wane. This man-made channel demonstrated that human will could triumph over geography, turning a continent from a barrier into a bypass. But if the Suez Canal shortened the East-West Passage, another project would conquer the ultimate continental divide. The Panama Canal was an even greater feat of endurance and engineering, a literal cut through the spine of the Americas. Before its completion, a ship traveling from New York to San Francisco had to undertake the terrifying journey around Cape Horn at the storm-racked southern tip of South America. The Panama Canal offered a stunning shortcut, linking the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans and saving vessels a journey of nearly 8,000 miles. The construction was a monumental struggle against a hostile environment, a challenge that cost many lives due to the harsh conditions and health challenges of the tropical setting. Yet its completion fundamentally reshaped global trade and naval strategy. It united the two great oceans, creating a single, integrated system of maritime commerce. The flow of goods was recalibrated on a planetary scale, with American wheat from the heartland now able to reach Asian markets with ease, and resources from the Pacific flowing freely to the Atlantic world. These two canals stand as the ultimate expression of a new era, proving that the ancient network of trade routes was no longer bound by natural geography. Humanity had taken direct control, using sheer ingenuity to stitch the world together with shortcuts of its own design, forever accelerating the pulse of global exchange. That same ancient drive to connect continents is now being written in steel and concrete across the 21st century. China's Belt and Road Initiative is a modern colossus of infrastructure, consciously echoing the pathways of the old Silk Road, but on a scale its caravan masters could never have conceived. This is not a single road, but a sprawling web of ambitious projects, weaving new ports, railways, and highways across Asia, Africa, and Europe. Its stated aim is to recreate the seamless trade connectivity of a bygone era, facilitating the flow of goods, capital, and cutting-edge technology across dozens of participating nations. Ports in Greece and Pakistan are modern versions of the ancient caravanserai, becoming bustling hubs where Chinese engineering meets global commerce. High-speed rail lines are the new camel caravans, shrinking vast distances and promising to bring economic opportunity to landlocked regions, much as the old routes did for oasis towns. In this light, the initiative is a powerful testament to the enduring logic of the trade network, the skeleton of civilization being actively reinforced with new, high-capacity pathways. Yet this modern network also raises profound questions that echo old debates about influence and dependency. Some observers express concern about the financial strain such massive projects can place on smaller economies, a complex dynamic often discussed as debt diplomacy. The initiative is also seen by many as a central piece in a new era of geopolitical rivalry, where economic connectivity is intertwined with strategic influence. This grand project demonstrates that the concepts which guided ancient traders are far from retired. They are simply updated, proving that the human impulse to build networks of exchange remains one of the most powerful forces shaping our world, for better and for more complicated. The story of our connected past is still being written, and its next chapters are being laid down in railway ties and deep water ports at this very moment. Our ancient highways of silk and spice have found their newest incarnation in the silent, instantaneous flow of data. The Internet is the modern Silk Road, a digital network that transmits not bolts of cloth, but the very essence of commerce and communication across the planet. In this virtual landscape, colossal platforms like Amazon and Alibaba function as the great caravanserais of our time, vast marketplaces where a small artisan in Morocco can sell handmade goods to a customer in Montreal with a few clicks. This digital highway has fundamentally democratized access to the global economy, empowering individual creators and small businesses to reach a worldwide audience without the need for a physical caravan or a merchant ship. The currencies of this new realm are as innovative as the routes themselves. Digital payment systems and cryptocurrencies now facilitate transactions that bypass traditional banking corridors, moving value as seamlessly as an email. Yet this new frontier is not without its own unique challenges. The same openness that enables global connection also creates vulnerabilities, with cybersecurity emerging as a critical concern for protecting personal and financial information. Furthermore, a significant digital divide persists, where access to this powerful network remains unevenly distributed, potentially leaving some communities disconnected from the modern economy. Despite these hurdles, the Internet has undeniably become the latest and most transformative layer in the enduring skeleton of human civilization. It is reshaping our very concept of value, community, and market, proving that the human impulse to connect and trade will always find a new path, whether it is carved through sand, sailed across seas, or coded into the heart of a microchip. These ancient pathways of commerce left more than cultural footprints upon the world. They carved deep and lasting marks upon the earth itself. The very infrastructure of trade demanded a heavy toll from the environment. To build the mighty fleets that plied the spice routes and the Manila galleon run, entire forests of ancient cedar and teak were felled, leading to widespread deforestation from Lebanon to Southeast Asia. The relentless passage of countless camels and carts along the Silk Road compacted the earth, stripping away fragile ground cover and leaving the soil vulnerable to the wind, accelerating erosion across vast regions. This was a network built by consuming the resources it traversed. The insatiable demand for specific luxuries drove certain species to the brink. The fragrant sandalwood trees of the Pacific Islands were harvested to near extinction to feed foreign markets, while the quest for ivory created immense pressure on elephant populations, a legacy that continues to challenge conservation efforts today. Yet this story is not one of simple depletion. The same routes that carried away resources also carried solutions. The exchange of seeds and agricultural knowledge was one of trade's most beneficial environmental legacies. As crops traveled, they brought resilience to new landscapes. Drought-resistant sorghum from Africa found a new home in India's arid regions, while citrus fruits from Southeast Asia revitalized soils in the Mediterranean. This was a quiet, global experiment in crop diversification, reducing the risk of famine and encouraging more sustainable farming practices as communities learned to cultivate foreign plants. The historical relationship between commerce and ecology is a powerful mirror for our own times. It teaches us that every economic network is also an ecological one, a system of give and take that can either exhaust an environment or enrich it. Our modern challenge is to learn from both the depletion and the diversification, to build trade routes that nourish the planet even as they connect its people. The most enduring cargo carried by these ancient roads was not silk or silver, but the very substance of human culture itself. A caravan might arrive with bolts of cloth and depart with new words absorbed into the local dialect, its journey leaving a permanent mark on the language spoken in a distant market town. Religions, perhaps the most profound of all exports, flowed along these channels with the power to reshape civilizations. The gentle philosophy of Buddhism, for instance, did not force its way into China. It was invited, traveling patiently from India along the Silk Road. Merchants and monks acted as its quiet ambassadors, their faith finding fertile ground in a new land and eventually giving rise to entirely distinct schools of thought like Zen. Across the Indian Ocean, the rhythms of commerce carried Islam along the monsoon routes, not on the backs of conquering armies, but through the peaceful interactions of Muslim traders in port cities from East Africa to the islands of Indonesia. These merchants lived their faith with such integrity that local rulers and populations were often drawn to its message, adopting the religion and weaving it into the existing cultural tapestry. This was not a replacement of one culture by another, but a slow, organic blending. The artistic world was equally transformed by this exchange. The graceful arch, an architectural marvel perfected in Rome and Persia, journeyed east and west, eventually defining the skylines of places as far apart as medieval European cathedrals and grand Indian mosques. A musical instrument crafted in the workshops of Central Asia could find itself in a royal court in Spain, its melodies adapting to new scales and rhythms, its very sound a testament to a journey of thousands of miles. Even the food we take for granted tells this story of fusion. The humble noodle, whose origins are fiercely debated, likely traveled from China westward, evolving into the pasta that defines Italian cuisine. These routes were conduits for creativity, proving that when a merchant opened his pack, he was offering far more than an object. He was offering a new way to see the world, to build, to worship, and to taste. The true legacy of these networks is this spectacular cultural syncretism, a global heritage built not in isolation, but through countless conversations held at dusty crossroads and bustling harbors. From the fragrant trails of the Incense road to the silent pulse of the digital highway, these networks have always been far more than simple paths for commerce. They form the enduring skeleton of human civilization itself, a structure upon which the flesh of our cultures, technologies, and beliefs has been built for millennia. This deep-seated drive to connect, to reach beyond our immediate horizons and exchange not just goods but the very essence of our experience, is a defining trait of our species. It is a story of relentless innovation and profound adaptability, where the camel and the clipper ship, the caravan and the container ship, all play their part in a single, continuous narrative of human interaction. The challenges we face today, from a changing global climate to complex international relationships, feel unprecedented in their scale. Yet the wisdom embedded in these ancient pathways offers a timeless guide. They teach us that resilience is born from cooperation, that prosperity is found in mutual benefit, and that the most formidable barriers, whether deserts, oceans, or mountains, can be overcome by our shared desire to connect. We are all inheritors of this vast, invisible network. The spices in your kitchen, the words in your language, the very ideas that shape your worldview, all traveled to you along routes paved by countless generations of traders, explorers, and dreamers. Let this journey inspire you to look for these hidden connections in your own life, to see the world not as a collection of separate places, but as a single, intricately woven tapestry. We would love to hear which of these routes captured your imagination the most. Was it the daring voyages of the Manila Galleons, the scholarly havens of the Silk Road, or the high-altitude bargains of the Tea-Horse Road? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this exploration into the mysteries of our connected past, be sure to subscribe for more journeys through history.